Hey everyone, it's Michael. I hope you're doing well today. I just kind of have a video here talking about the current state of comics as a community in 2026. It's been a rough few years since the MCU kind of imploded, and I think it's getting a little bit of stuff here and there that I like Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four I thought was really good. I just reviewed it. I was shocked by that. The DCU seems like it's having a giant mess as a reboot. Over the years, with all these reboots and all of the issues and the culture and whatnot that have been happening over the years with the culture war stuff, ever since 2016, things have not been the same in any hobby, literally any hobby. Any website that you go to look at people talking about those hobbies. My wife is into crafts and reading. She'll talk about this too. It's a shame because it feels like there's less and less community if you're into like comics now. If you were just getting into comics or if you have been for a while. And it was there when the movies were there because you had the normies. And you could have normies know that you're the guy at work or the girl at work that knows comics or manga. And this video is for everybody. Comics people, manga people, video game people, whatever. Movie fans, whatever. It was cool having discussions with normies about things in comics, whether they had read it or not, whether they were new to it or not, and talking with people who loved comics, and who still do if you can find them. That's really fun, but it feels like the conversations have had to completely change, not only because of the content of the books, and how lame most of them are, but if you're into manga, there's a lot to talk about most of the time. It's just people like me don't read chapter to chapter instead of trade to trade, or volume to volume, I guess, with manga. Because I'm a trade guy when it comes to comics. It's kind of a really sad time, I would say. Not only for comic fans, but for the community overall. People talking online, people communicating back and forth. And it's... I blame the creatives more than I blame any fan of any swayed or political belief or anything like that. Because it really starts with them, like Marvel and DC, especially with the big two, but it can be like this in indie comics too. And I've heard indie comics are good American-wise, but I haven't taken the time to try any of that out. If you have some good recommendations, give me some. It's sad to me because, like, when I was growing up, and even before I got into comics, like, I touched a comic here or there from my uncle's comics from when I was a kid, but I didn't really understand that. I liked to read regular books, and when I was a teenager, I liked regular books, and I had YouTube channels that I found that got me into not only doing YouTube, but also getting into comics over time. The biggest influence on my channel is a guy that I've talked about a bunch. You guys may remember him, Blows Himself Up Dude, or Browncoat Eric, if you remember him by that name. He was on, like, Geekvolution, who is still doing their thing. I love Captain Logan. I wish he was still making videos instead of doing live streams. I need to make a video about everybody doing live streams. It's something that needs to be said, I think. And not directed at him, but still. The comic community is just not the same anymore. And I miss old YouTube. That's part of it. Like with Blows Himself Up Dude and Captain Logan and even other people who are still kind of doing their thing like Manos, who was part of that group. But just the chats. You know, Blows Himself Up Dude, for example, used to do these chats with his friends like Captain Logan and like Manos and Nate and J-Train, who sometimes comes back and makes videos every once in a while. And if you don't know any of those guys, dude, you don't understand how much fun it used to be to just hear a group of friends from the internet that you've never met just talk about something they've been hugely passionate on since they were kids. The wisdom about a lot of those things, how to find certain ideas within the books, whether it be where to locate them online for a good deal, whatever. I learned so much from those guys when I was a teenager. And I really grew up with those videos. I count it as part of my childhood, even though I was a teenager. It still counts. Still a minor. So I really learned so much from those guys, and a lot of them took their videos down or deleted their channels entirely. Some of the other guys outside of Blows Himself Up Dude did that. And it's sad to me because I miss their content so deeply, dude. Because YouTube is in a place now that everything is so fake. And not just with YouTube, just online. If you look up reviews for like a new graphic novel, the reviews are either super shilly, or they're shilly in a way based on politics, or they're just completely negative in a way that's not even fair, I think, a lot of the time. Not always. It is very fair most of the time, but a lot of the time it's not. And I see this with movies. I see this with comics. I see this with novels, especially in the horror community. The horror community for novels is horrible now, pardon the pun. There's nothing coming out anymore. Kind of like the comic industry that's worth reading. And again, we're all kind of scattering all over the place. Some people completely abandoned American comics and indies and went over to manga because it's so damn good most of the time. There's people like me who kind of went backwards and started checking out old stuff, whether it be for video games, whether it be for comics, movies, shows, whatever. And I couldn't be happier, to be honest. There's very few things I've watched that are older. Like right now, I'm about to finish up How I Met Your Mother. And yeah, these last 4 seasons have been really rough. But I would still take it over anything coming on TV now. Be honest with you. I plan on doing a review for that, by the way, in case you care. I don't regret going backwards for stuff to check out. But like, dude, how long can you do that? If there's nothing new coming out, aside from manga, which I love. But even that, like, how frequently does that actually come out? That's something I'm interested in. It's not very often, to be honest with you. At least for American English translated things, it's not very often. So there's only so far you can go. And I got a lot of backlog stuff I can read and watch and whatever. So, that'll go a while. But if I'm doing videos for this channel, and let's say I do, and this is a big part of this when it comes to the review thing I mentioned, when you talk about reviewing trades, because I'm a trade guy, or you talk about reviewing manga volumes and stuff, really, honestly, there's not a lot of views on that. And I don't do this for money. I never have done YouTube for money. I've never been a partner on any of my newer channels I do. I tried back in the day. It didn't make a cent, which is fine. I do this because I have fun doing it. And because I want to find more community. I make these videos hoping that over time, people will find this channel and we can talk. In the comments, maybe in chats, maybe in a live stream or something here and there, just to discuss all of these different things that we want to talk about. And there's either a lack of interest entirely, which I think is the big deal, which is why I would never review single issues. I think that's kind of dumb. It's one thing to talk about a topic that happened in a single issue, but to review a single issue, I think that's always been stupid. But when it comes to reviewing like old stories, like Batman Hush, for example, people don't even seem like they're that interested in that unless it's like a new release you're talking about. Which to me, that gets old because you're just buying the same book over and over again. And I'm not going to do that. I don't have the room to do that, but I wouldn't do that in general. But even something obscure that you talk about, like I love a manga series called Die Dark. The fans don't really come to this channel for those reviews when I do them. I haven't finished reviewing the whole series, but I've read the whole series at this point for the releases we have. And even like the niche fans of that, obviously my channel is more what people consider low effort. I consider it more podcasty, not low effort, but people don't view it that way. That's okay. This is not a complaint about me. It's just a matter of people come to the videos. They may watch them, but we don't even interact. And not that everybody can. We're all older. I think the younger generation have abandoned YouTube to an extent. But everything feels so shilly and body, if you will. And it just feels like the communities are gone, man. And again, I know why we all ran to different directions to try to find something cool and entertaining. We all know that happened. But it doesn't mean it doesn't suck that this had to happen. I just miss it. I wish people were doing book reviews, especially with like these new DC Compact comics and these Marvel Premiere Collection comic trades. I'm enjoying those. I'm rooting for both of those companies to keep going that way and keep making cheaper releases for their companies. Because, dude, people like me are not paying $25 and $30 and $40 up to $60 for Marvel. For Epic Collections and DC Finest, I'm not doing that. And I think the majority of the normies are just done, period, with any of this stuff. So the leftover fans, like me, who will buy a thing here and there, you're not getting more than like $10 and $15 out of a book for me. It's just not going to happen because new stuff is not worth reading, you know? But I miss the community. I miss people making discussion videos like this one. I miss people talking about the movie adaptations of stuff. And they don't even have to go in depth. I just liked always hearing people's discussions. You could have new Star Wars books, for example. Not that the new ones are worth reading, but every once in a while there is a cool one. And you can't even find channels who will cover the cool ones. They cover, again, for culture war's sake, whatever side they land on. They cover things that way, and I just don't have a lot of interest in that. I want real content, and I want community. I want people to talk. A lot of you know me from my main channel, what's kind of my main channel. I don't really get to upload very often on it. That's a Goosebumps channel from the old 90s horror series for kids. And I've reviewed basically everything except for a couple of books. And I love Goosebumps deeply. I'm probably the biggest fan on the planet of it. That community is phenomenal. I love it. I love talking to people about Goosebumps. But even that particular community, it seems like people comment on the videos less and less. They watch the videos. They just either don't have the time to comment or they don't really care about being involved in a community that much. And again, that's okay. But it's kind of sad that we're at this time, and social media contributed a lot to this, that people don't talk. If people see a smaller creator, not that I am a small creator, but I don't mean just me. People don't reach out to like Captain Logan, for example, with like 40,000 subs. And like you'll have some of his diehard fans that'll send like a chat link or something, or like a donation to talk to him. Or maybe like in his Discord or something. But you don't see a lot of comments on his videos either. I really think YouTube is just dead, man. And it sucks because I enjoy this. I miss it. I've always liked making videos. But I could see exactly why newer creators would feel like there's no point to doing any of this, whether it be regular book reviews for horror novels or whatever. It just seems like the audience is not there. They just don't have an interest because everything's been ruined so much with books and comics especially, which this video is about. It's just a shame, man. I just hate what's happened to all of this stuff because it used to be so fun. It used to be so fun, dude. You could find so many people making what's considered nowadays as low-effort content that were fun. They had a personality. They weren't robotic. They weren't somebody getting on a camera and putting on a fake voice and a fake attitude that they don't have in day-to-day life. And it just seems so fake now. And it's exhausting. You can't find smaller channels anymore. What helped is, like, again, the Marvel Premiere collections and the DC Compact Collection videos. You'll see people make videos about those subjects. And it's been really nice finding some smaller channels that do that. But there ain't a bunch. There's not a bunch. Some channels that I wish would cover the stuff more, like Serial at Midnight, who does a lot of movie stuff. He doesn't cover it a whole lot anymore. He does a video here and there, but he doesn't really do dedicated videos talking about comics or like Marvel Essential volumes or DC Showcase from back in the day, the old black and white books I love. He doesn't cover any of that stuff. He might do a spotlight video here and there, but dude, it's just not enough. I love talking about this old stuff with people. And like if people are going to do like an analyzing a run video, I just get so burnt out on that, dude, because they just recap the story. They have nothing to say most of the time. Because a lot of them are just people doing it for views. They don't know anything. And that's okay not to know everything. But it's hard to, in my opinion, that's like me doing an analyzing video about a comic trade or a comic storyline from, like, let's say a Spider-Man Peter David thing. If I don't know much about the comics, what am I going to say? What am I going to compare it to? What am I going to say it's taking influence from? If you're going to do analyzing videos and stuff, to me, you need to know more. Not just do research, but you need to know more personally that you've experienced reading these comics over time. There's not a lot of that anymore. There used to be, but again, a lot of those guys, they skedaddled, and I don't blame them. I see videos all the time on YouTube. I've watched a bunch of them this week of people saying why they quit American comics in general and went straight over to manga. There's a lot of reasons for that. I don't need to cover them. But a lot of it seems to just constantly boil down to how the big two talk to their customers And also just disappointment all around with everything. With every book, every style of release, every price, all of it. And again, I don't blame them. It really is not a good time to be a comic fan for American comics, which is what I like more. And I don't know if I've ever talked about this. I prefer American comics over manga, but it's because I understand how to get into them, how to follow a trade run or a line, how to properly use Google to help me with that. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't realize they can not just go to Barnes & Noble and pick up Batman Volume 1 and they know what they're doing. Then they can just go from there. You can't do that anymore. Even with the Epic Collections and the DC Finest, they publish them out of order to give a little bit of range on things and then fill in the gaps over time. But you still can't just jump right in a lot of the time. There's still back information and stuff. Look at Nightfall. I have 3 gigantic trades from back in the 2010s of Batman Nightfall when Dark Knight Rises was about to come out, or already did. And in those 3 trades, while Bruce Wayne is crippled throughout those 3 books, they don't even include the issue in those gigantic, 600-page trades of whenever he got his back fixed. Not that I remember. I read them thoroughly, and I don't remember that ever being told, and I had to go online and look it up back in the day. I was furious about it. So it just kind of ruined the book. It kind of ruined the whole read in general. And I'm so tired of that. That's such a problem in American comics in general. I may make a video one day about all of my complaints about American comics, or just comics in general, I guess we can call them. They're issues that manga fixed a long time ago that America should have totally went for. And in some ways they did, like Ultimate Spider-Man, that whole Ultimate Universe stuff. I've heard a lot of it's not great, but, Spider-Man especially was. And again, America would try to, do that method, like with the Marvel Essentials, where you pick up Volume 1 and you just read straight through, but they never finished it. They went up to 1990, I think, or 1989 or something, and then they just stopped. In 2013, they just stopped making them. I guess they weren't making money anymore. It's a shame to me, But anyway, I guess this is just a long, boring-ass video, probably. But if you feel that way too, if you're coming to this channel and you're finding some kind of interest with a lot of the topics I discuss, all the movies and comics and whatnot, I know up front I'm not the best reviewer. But I want to make it clear that it's not about the views for me, it's about building a community who actually talks about this stuff. Because YouTube used to be like that. On my old channels, on the channels I still have, like my Goosebumps one, I love getting to discuss these things that I love with other people. There's nothing else like it. And of course, we all have busy lives. That's a whole other separate issue. But it's just sad to see people not want to even bother reading this stuff or talking about it. So anyway, I would love to hear what you guys say. If you know some comic communities out there, let me know. I would love to know so I could go out and reach out to those guys and, talk with them, support their videos on their channels and stuff, because I have a lot of time at work to listen to stuff while I'm working. But yeah, let me know what you think, what you'd recommend. How do you feel? If you're old enough that you experienced the old YouTube communities for comics and stuff, and even just online in general, discussion boards, forums, whatever you want to call them, what do you think could be I guess the way to go back to that at some point? Some people claim manga is like that now, and I could kind of argue for that in favor, but it also depends on what you're reading. Again, Die Dark might get 70 views from me. Berserk always does well. I don't know why, it just does. If I review those, which I'm too far in to keep up with my old volumes I reviewed or read. But a lot of it doesn't. A lot of it just doesn't. Dragon Ball doesn't get a lot of views unless it's a new book, a new volume coming out. And then it does really well, surprisingly enough. But this whole thing is not about views for me. It's about having enough exposure to build a community and to talk with other people who care about this stuff still. Because there's not a lot of them. Even the most recent videos I've been putting up this last, week? It's been great being back. I'm super thankful for that. Don't get me wrong. And this is not to obviously not to say anything to anybody. only probably maybe 2 of those videos have hit like 100 views or right at it. And they just, people don't comment on videos anymore. You can't help but wonder how bot infested YouTube is, or how shitty my channel is compared to a lot of other people's. And again, I know this kind of thing is viewed as low effort, but then people will turn it off and go listen to a podcast that does the exact same thing. It's just, I don't know. I know I'm boring, but it's a shame that there's no community to be boring within, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Anyway, thank you all for watching, guys. I appreciate you listening to this rambling video. I probably shouldn't even upload this, but I'm just going to do it. Who gives a shit? I appreciate everybody here. If I miss your comments and stuff, I'm sorry for that. But just know that if you're here and you comment and you say that you had a good time with the video, or in this case with this video, if you say that you want the same type of thing with community, let's start building that together. Let's talk more about this stuff in the comments together. You know, I appreciate you guys. I really do. I'm thankful for you. God bless you guys. Talk to you later. And I got a bunch of other videos coming up soon. So, yeah. I'll see you then. God bless you guys. Goodbye.